Now, first things first, before we get to the subject today, I just want to hope that everybody out there in Texas is doing very well. We've been supporting them for the past week or so. Any of you guys out there over in Texas, let us know how you guys are doing, you know, how the overall temperature is, what's going on with the snow, the power outages. We're all here to support you guys. Now, moving away from all of this, a lot of fans have been very curious about what's been happening behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm and the entire Gina Carano fired situation. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Disney Star Wars is that yes, they are working very hard on over a dozen Star Wars TV shows, and we also know that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are going through a couple of minor setbacks when it comes to Mando Season 3 and 4 and the Ahsoka Tano series. So there's a lot of things that are happening right now because of Gina Carano's firing. Now today, by the way guys, Gina is going to come out. She's going to talk more about Lucasfilm and her experience working with Lucasfilm and everything related to her firing. We're going to be learning more about that in the coming hours, so keep your eyes open for that. Now, a part of what's been going on behind the scenes with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy, alright? As I've stated this multiple times before in the past, she is a force of destruction over the years. You know, look at what she did from 2012 until 2020, right before she lost her creative control. You know, the only show that she's in charge of, creatively speaking, is, of course, The Acolyte by Leslie Headland. And we also know that that show is going to be pretty much a disaster because it's not going to be geared toward character development and a proper story. It's going to be geared toward more promoting agendas and trying to create new Star Wars fans that accept those types of agendas being thrown into that show. But anyways, moving on from this. With The Mandalorian Season 3 now in development, Disney and Lucasfilm are focused on their new projects with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. It's explained, however, that behind the scenes there have been some setbacks for some of the TV shows, as we discussed for Disney Plus from the Gina Carano fired situation. However, Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy is said to be going through an attempt to further end Gina Carano's version of Cara Dune from The Mandalorian. Now further, it's noted that Kathleen Kennedy has a proposal that she presented to Disney CEO Bob Chapek and other higher-ups over at Disney, and that Kennedy wants to erase Cara Dune by Gina Carano from the Mandalorian series in a revised version of Season 1 and Season 2, where it's described that Kennedy wants to delete Gina Carano from existing Star Wars material by cutting her scenes from what she had worked on for Season 1 and 2. However, Bob Chapek is described to be very against the idea, as it would only cost them not only more money, but it would also create more backlash from fans, and just would not make sense to bring things like this so far. Jon Favreau is described to be uneasy about Kathleen Kennedy's proposal to Bob Chapek, and that thankfully, Bob Chapek shot this attempt by Kathleen Kennedy down, and is refusing endlessly to even move ahead with this idea by Kathleen Kennedy. Now, let's not stop right here because this is something very important that I think a lot of fans need to know. Now, we've obviously seen what Kathleen Kennedy did with the sequel trilogy movies. I don't know if you guys are in the loop, but she is the one responsible for pretty much firing Matt Smith and deleting all of his scenes as the Dark Acolyte from Episode 9. For those of you that don't know, there was an original villain that was going to portray by Matt Smith that was going to portray the Dark Acolyte, which was going to be pretty much a loyal Sith on the world of Exegol that would be overtaken by Palpatine's spirit. And that seemed a whole lot more original than just bringing Palpatine back into the mix, which was done by Kathleen Kennedy. But anyways, moving on. Now, this attempt by Kathleen Kennedy is not only disgusting, alright, it's also very unprofessional, and it's also very messy. It just doesn't make sense to do this. You know, just leave things alone, let things, stay as they are, leave it in the past, it's no big deal. As I say, everybody has their own opinions and their own viewpoints on things. Do we really have to take things this far? To the point where Kathleen Kennedy wants to literally delete Gina Carano's scenes from The Mandalorian? Do you know how big of a domino effect that would create because of how many scenes would be lost from the overall series? I mean, think about it this way. How would you take out some of the fight sequences? How would you take out some of the dialogue where she's communicating with other important characters there? It just would not work, and hence why it would cost more money, and it would only cost them a lot more fans. It would create a larger backlash. So good thing on Bob Chapek for refusing to do this, but it also just goes to show us Kathleen Kennedy's true intentions. She really does not like Gina Carano. And I think it's the main reason as to why she has yet to even make an official statement out loud to Star Wars fans, directly. You know, we have yet to see her, let alone even make an appearance about this. The only little shred of footage that we got of Kennedy was in that Oscar video, which, by the way, backfired because of what she talked about in that video. I'm sure that you guys know exactly what we're talking about. I'm not going to jump into that in this video. But what's really interesting about everything else is that Bob Chapek at least is still moving ahead. He's still moving forward with these Star Wars projects. He is doing everything in his power to make Star Wars as best as possible. Again, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they're very much unsettled by the entire situation because of the domino effect it's having on Star Wars right now. And not just that, I mean, it's creating a big workload for them. But let alone, it's hard to really say if Jon and Dave are necessarily sorry for what happened to Gina Carano, genuinely speaking. You know, we still don't know yet if they feel bad for Gina Carano's firing or not. We're not quite sure about that. So far, we do know that they are, yes, very much stressed and uneasy about the entire situation because of business reasons and because of workload reasons. But we have yet to actually figure out if they are actually personally, you know, kind of upset about what happened to Gina Carano. We don't know that. We do know that Gina Carano said in the Daily Wire interview that some people over at Lucasfilm, yes, tried to back her and tried to protect her. So could it have been Favreau or Filoni or some minor people over at Lucasfilm? That we don't know. Now, we're going to be learning more about that in the new interview today. I don't know if you guys saw the interview on the Daily Wire, but obviously we're going to be getting that full interview today being released. And she has had nothing but great things to say about Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. She does not, you know, unload on them in a negative way. She has nothing but great things to say about Favreau and Filoni. In fact, she has said multiple times that they genuinely care about the Star Wars fans, that they love the Star Wars fans. So she at least admitted that, and she's with Jon and Dave. That leads me to believe that secretly at least, Jon and Dave have some form of remorse of the firing of Gina Carano. But again, that's just going by me. So when we look at everything also related to Kathleen Kennedy, I'm still surprised that we have yet to hear from her at all in either way. Now, after this interview drops, I believe that Disney and or Lucasfilm, anybody associated with that company, is gonna have to make a statement. And if they don't, it's gonna look bad on them. It really will. So I think that overall, you know, a lot of fans are still very much mind-boggled over the entire situation of what happened with Gina Carano. And it's unacceptable the way that they fired her. Through social media? I mean, this is worse than just shooting her an email or something around those lines. You know, in my book, do it the old-fashioned way. Call them in, face-to-face. You're done. You're out of here. Goodbye. That's it. You know, at least have the courage to do that. It just seems like that Lucasfilm comes off as very cowardly by doing it through social media. But anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.